it's driving me insane. Silence rattles in my brain. Yeah, I gotta get away. Always waiting for the phone, so I built my towers tall, wandering through these empty halls. Break the cycle now, walls are coming down. I gotta make it out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look my fear right in the eye. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I gotta save me from myself. This emptiness, it hurts like hell. My good intentions let me down. I keep getting in my way. My stubborn pride will dig my grave. Please hit me hard with every step I take. Yeah, cycle down, walls are coming down. I gotta make it out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look my fear right in the eye. I just wanna feel alive.
Chạy. Ồ. Chạy đây nào. 아, 40 あるか。40.5 です。40.5。 42.8 42.8です。はい、こんなヘラです。
見えもせんし、夏に期待するわ。夏以降に。ウグイのあたり飛んだな。あっぱいウグイ。
ああ、上か。肩はどうなんですか。ああ、はい。うん。あ、背中持ってくれません。
ね、
うん。
結構ええヘラでしょ。
はい。待ってた。 ちっちゃい。よいしょと。45ジャストです。